Hello, how are you? This is Rachel from Sweet Bee Paper Co. I am here with another Scraps to Treasures video. This is an open collaboration hosted by Sheree over at Turquoise Dreaming and Maria from Maria's Miscellany. I will have both of their channels linked down below. Make sure you check them out. I think they have a list of everyone who is participating in the Scraps to Treasures, so you can see all types of different projects to help inspire you to use up your scraps. So with this month, the challenge is to make some envelopes. And my scrap box, this is the small scrap box, remember, is out of control. It's out of control. And for this month, I didn't even use anything out of it. Or we're not going to use anything out of it, I should say. I think I found one of these in here. Well, I mean, this is big enough. We'll pull this one out. So I have a couple things in mind today. And part of one I recorded in advance so that they would be dry, but I also kind of wanted to use fabric scrap. So this is my my small scrap little container. So I really wanted to use some stuff out of here, and I really don't feel like I made that much of a dent in it. So yeah, but anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself like normal, but I want to make some envelopes out of these pieces here that I have. So these are mostly strips, and these pieces that are kind of a little bit smaller. So I'll show you how I'm going to make envelopes out of those. And then I have a really cool thing to use up some of my fabric scraps on some envelopes, because I have been looking for different things to use my embossing folders on. So I've got these four. We're going to use maybe all of them today. I think I have a couple envelopes, or enough to do one of each. So, but let's do the paper envelopes first. And of course, I forgot to grab out what I wanted to use. I kind of wanted to try some score tape on those and see kind of how that goes. And I also have excuse me, I'm reaching in front of the camera, sorry. I kind of don't, you can obviously use whatever type of glue you want on envelopes, but I kind of like something I don't have to fool with, like no liquidy stuff. So, like I said, we're going to do the paper envelopes first. And I just watched a tutorial on envelopes from, I think it's Natasha at Treasure Books. So with these, you could pretty much make any type of envelopes you want. So like we could fold this over, go like this, and kind of be done. But I really like that traditional kind of envelope back with the corners like this. I do have an envelope punch board, but she showed a really easy way you could make envelopes like that without using the punch board. So we're going to do that. So basically what you want to do is take your scrap, and you just want to start with a square. Okay, so how big is this? Well, we basically can only do this size. So this is almost 5 inches. So take your scraps and just basically make a square. So then we'll have obviously some more scraps. So let me get these squared off, and I will be right back. Okay, now that I've got all of them kind of squared off, keeping the scraps, obviously. And these, I had enough, to make another envelope, but for the video right now, we'll just make one of each. So this is kind of a lot thinner paper, like printer paper. These are thicker cardstock. So let me show you on the bigger piece first. So I've only made one of these before, so bear with me. Also remember too, if you have directional paper, doing it this way, everything's going to be at an angle. Get the scissors out. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to find the middle of your paper. So you could use a ruler to find it. All I pretty much did was kind of put them like this and just try to line it up. It depends on how perfect you want your envelopes to be. I think it's right around in there. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a fold there. We'll take a look. I mean, I don't want to kind of do this and have it be completely off. Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay. Let me make sure I remember how to do this. So we've got these lined up. Push the edges down. Try to make sure. The first one I did not do one of my sides very straight, and it just looked terrible. I think that's kind of straight. Okay, so then at this point, you can decide if you want, or like what you want your flap to be. I'm just going to keep going. So I'm going to fold up this bottom part in probably about 1/4 of an inch up from where the bottom of the paper edge is. So let me get it folded and I'll show you what I mean. That'd be easier to show. See here how I have these little flaps? I folded up so I've got a little bit of the side folded too. So what that kind of does is help like square off your envelope. And we'll do the same thing at the top. So about maybe 1/4, I think it's a top. Let me measure because I said 1/4, but it's probably more like 1/2 inch. Yeah, about 1/2 inch down. So we'll do that on the top. And that can also depend on what paper or how big your paper is. So like on this, this piece of paper is a lot bigger. These are smaller. I don't know if I'll fold that far down. But there it is. There's our envelope. So what I'm going to do on the top part, let me cut one out so I can show you. There's this little triangle on the side by the flap. So we're just going to cut that off. See right here? So like if you're using the punch board, that would be the part that it like punches out. So then we'll just do that on both sides. There we go. So if you need to, you can also trim this part down a little more, or you could round that. I think it's okay the way it is. And then for your bottom flap, you could also trim this off. I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to cut the like pointy part off. There we go. There is my first envelope. So you'll glue on your side flaps down towards the bottom. So for that right now, save some time, I'm just going to use the tape runner. And I went over the edge, so I'm just going to get that off. Oops. there we go. There's my first envelope. That's so pretty. So let's do one of the smaller ones, and I will do that again with you, and the rest of them will speed up. So make sure your paper is squared. Size doesn't matter. This one is almost 5 inches. I'm just going to take the two sides, find the center. So what I'm looking at is like from the top point to the bottom point. I'm just trying to see if it's in the center, and then looking at the sides to make sure I kind of have it straight. Pushing down with the bone folder. And let's see. Kind of want that is my top flap. So I'm going to fold this one up. And since this one is smaller, I'm not going to make the fold as high up as I did the other one. So let's fold it up and I'll tell you how big it is. This one is about 1/4 of an inch. And let me fold the top one down, and I'll try to do about 1/4 of an inch for this. Push that down. So cute. And we'll trim off the little triangles on the top. Trim off this point on the bottom. Looks nice. Let's try to round those and kind of just see what they look like. That looks pretty nice, rounding that at the top. This one, since it's a little bit smaller, I am going to use the score tape so I have a little bit more control over it. That's probably too long. Push this down. There we go. So there is our second little cardstock envelope. So cute. Super easy instead of, using the punch board, or if you want to use the punch board, obviously. But this is just a way you can do it without it. So I'm going to do these last 3 real quick. Okay, I've got all my little envelopes done. They are so adorable. Love them. This one is a little wonky. That's okay. I was trying to rush and I shouldn't have rushed because it's a little wonky. That's okay. So these would be so cute, kind of like glued down in your journal, or you can put little stuff in there and tuck in a pocket. They're absolutely so, so cute. Or even in some Happy Mail to send out. It's a fun way to kind of use up some of your bigger scraps. And you could also take some of your even smaller scraps and decorate these as well. But yeah, I love how they turn out. They're so cute. Okay, so for the next part, for all of my fabric scraps, I've got my embossing folders. And here are the envelopes ready to go. So basically what I did was take some fabric scraps and glue them all down to some envelopes. These envelopes are about 4.5 by 5. I'm going to insert a clip here of me making one of these and gluing it down, kind of talking through it, so you can kind of see what a little bit of my thought process was and everything else. So let me play that for you. So for this, I've got all of my little scrap pieces over here, and I'm just cutting off some pieces maybe to start with. There's no, you can do this however you want. You're just taking your scraps and just cutting some pieces to cover up an envelope. So these envelopes I'm using are, I think they're about the 4 by 5.5. So just pick out some fabric pieces that cover your envelope. You can plan this out ahead of time. You can glue it as you go, but I kind of just like to put it all down at once. Okay, so I've just gone through all of my scraps and just got some pieces cut out and just laying on there for gluing. So I'm just going to move them up here. You don't have to do it this way. I just kind of like to have an idea of what I'm going to do so the glue doesn't dry while I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm just taking this Fabri-Tac, putting a bunch of it down. You can either leave it like this, but I spread the glue around as well, and then just start taking your pieces of fabric and just start putting them on your envelope. If your pieces stick off a little bit, don't worry about it. You can cut it off later. I'll have to cut a little piece for that right there. Maybe some up here. Oh no, we're good up here. And I'll add some extra glue there. So first I'll just use this little triangle piece. You can either put the glue on your envelope or put it on your fabric. Doesn't matter. If it's an odd shape, I just put it on the fabric first. Okay, so let's add some glue to get this laying down. They don't have to be super, super glued, but you don't also kind of don't want them flapping off, you know what I mean? So there you go. So I always make sure I peel it up from the paper I was working on and make sure nothing kind of glued down. I would also wait until it's dry to run it through embossing it. I think it might be okay with it still wet, but it could also push the glue through the paper. So I would wait. I think Jess put it through her embosser when it was still wet, and it kind of glued the inside shut just a little bit. So I'm just gonna let these dry and then we'll emboss them. Okay, so it's been several days since I've gotten these glued down. So I'm ready to see what they look like embossed. I'm so excited. I got this idea from Paper Terrace. It was on a live stream she did. I think she may have done a video. I'm not sure. I will link her channel down below. So let's see which one we want to do with what. So my first tester, which I actually sent out to Pam, she won my 500 subscriber giveaway. So I made a little envelope to put a card in for her. And I used this one. So I already kind of know what this one looks like. So I don't want to use that first. Let's use this one here. I think I picked this one up at Joann Fabrics. Look at these little birds. Aren't they adorable? Okay, so I know one of my embossing tricks was to spray down your paper. We're not going to spray them down. My envelope is not sealed or anything. We're just going to put it inside the embossing folder. This one is a little bit smaller. And then we're just going to run it through the embossing machine. So with this, for the sandwich for these, you need the standard platform and your 2 cutting plates. If you make your envelope too thick, you may have a harder time getting it through. But the reason I waited until mine were completely dry to do this is because I watched when Paper Tears did hers and it was still kind of wet. The glue kind of pushed through the paper and kind of glued the inside. So I figured if it was all completely dry, we wouldn't have that issue. So let's go ahead and push this one through and see what it looks like. I'm so excited through, and it is really hard to push through. Make sure you are holding on to everything when you push it through. Oh, look how pretty. So on the darker fabric, you're not going to see it as much than the lighter fabric, but you can feel it. It's so pretty. And then there's the back, so you can very carefully open up your envelope. So like I said, these would be so cute sending to your pen pal, obviously in a different envelope. But yeah, that looks really pretty. This is so pretty, but it's like we can barely feel. This one is just such a soft one. Let's try this one for this envelope. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Ooh, I really like how it makes the fabric feel like it's definitely like mashed down, and it just feels so different. And then yeah, be careful because it kind of can cut into your paper a little bit. So you could do like have it in your journal like a flap opening like that. That would be really cute. And then you could see the embossed on this side too. Yeah, we really can't see it too much on this, but it just gives such a different feel to it. But let's go to this one. This is a Tim Holtz one in Sizzix. Oh my gosh, yeah. So with the lighter color fabric, you can really see that well. Let me zoom in. Doesn't that look cool like that? So here's the other two. So you can kind of see it, especially on the lighter fabric there. But this one really gives really good pattern on there. So pretty. So I think I'm going to use the flower one for the last two because I have this fabric on that as well. Okay, this is what, oh, you already saw this one, but this is what the last two look like with it. Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's just something else we can use these embossing folders on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some inspiration for some ways you can use your scraps or your fabric scraps and embossing folders. I think you wouldn't even need to use your embossing folder on the envelopes either for the fabric. I think they look really cute without it as well. So like that patchwork. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, check out Sheree and Maria's channels I have linked down below, and I will see you next month. Bye.
You stole my heart, what is it that you did?